Keep this stream relatively short because I'll be doing an interview tonight. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Sorry if that's a little bit too late for you. You can always watch it on the replay. I will be on the Occult Rejects. Again, Nick, who runs that channel, he came over here some time ago and asked if I would come on as a guest. We finally got that scheduled. And based on his magnifying glass, I'm guessing he wants to talk 33. So I'll kind of let them guide the conversation and answer the questions. You can watch it on their channel, the Occult Rejects. I'd give them a sub. They have a lot of interesting guests on. And yeah, they deserve more viewership than they're getting. You can also watch it on my channel. I'll also be streaming it through my channel. But yeah, feel free to give them a sub. Also, I want to send a shout out to the man I'll just refer to as R. R's pounded pavement with me from Seattle to Los Angeles to New York. And he recently watched the Eddington film. And he's talking about what's in the film. And he's also going through the whole script of the movie. He's showing all these things that are written into the Eddington script that they removed from the movie. It's crazy how much of my work was considered for the film when you go through the script. And it's obvious, it's super obvious that it's my work, word for word. But as we know, the Eddington trailer, the first trailer they put out for the film, began with my quote about 1956. And he has this little scene here where it's showing the YouTuber in the movie, how he's got this 56 reasons thing to wake up about Cooties 19. It is quite comical. It would have been something else if everything that's in the script was in the movie. I think they had to cut a lot of it because it probably would have had people looking into things. But yeah, thank you, R, for doing that. His channel is Vidal Carmenita, and much appreciated. He also does good work. He deserves a lot more subs. As I'm going live, I just caught wind of the breaking news on the day of Ozzy's funeral. Paul Mario Day of Iron Maiden is dead. And reportedly, he died yesterday. Looks like Billboard actually posted this. It would have been early this morning, East Coast time, or late last night, West Coast time. He died yesterday. Look at this. He's got that April 19th birthday. From his birthday to his death, July 29th, would have been the 102nd day of his age. Guess what Iron Maiden equals? Most simple cipher, 102. The original Iron Maiden vocalist, dead the day of Ozzy's funeral. At least that's the news. And another British metal band. But yeah, by the numbers. 102 also, kind of like how Ozzy Osbourne's 201. He's 102, reflections of each other. But just chalk it up as another coincidence. And speaking of coincidences, we talked about how Ozzy, who was connected to Aleister Crowley through his song Mr. Crowley, or that connection was really brought to light when George W. Bush had Ozzy at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And he said, "Mom really likes your music, Ozzy." And of course, there's the rumor that Bush's mother, who was once the first lady when his father was in the White House, is the offspring of Aleister Crowley. But anyway, we were talking about how Ozzy died 82 days before Crowley's birthday. And again, in that most simple cipher, Black Sabbath equals 82. And we're just days from the real Black Sabbath, which is August 2nd. It falls on August 2nd this year, the real Black Sabbath. It's the first Saturday of Tisha B'Av, which also equals 82. Today, the day of Ozzy's funeral, it's a date with 82 numerology. It's July 30th, 2025. 7 plus 30 plus 20 plus 25 is 82. So in case you thought it was a coincidence, the first time the 82 connection, now here we are with his funeral on 82 date numerology. And something else that stands out is today is the 211th day of the year. 211's the 47th prime. Rock equals 47, time 47. We talked about how Jack Black just did the cover of Mr. Crowley. And then Ozzy died right after, exactly 47 weeks into Jack Black's age when Crowley died in 1947. And Jack Black did the cover of Mr. Crowley on July 6th, which was George W. Bush's birthday, only for Ozzy to die 16 days later at 76. But yeah, today's 211, the 47th prime. Remember things like The Apprentice equals 211. 211 again is the 47th prime number. Trump equals 47. So on the 211th day of the year, rock legend is dead. Today is also 25 days after Ozzy's tribute concert. And you can see how, well, Trump also is 25, but rock's 25. Again, death is 25. Time's 25. London's 25. I was saying I expect some more British rock musicians to die, and possibly one 25 days after Ozzy's death, which would fall on August 16th, the anniversary of Elvis and Aretha Franklin's passing. And something I just learned about Robert Plant, the singer for Zeppelin, is that after Ozzy left Sabbath, Dio became the singer. And as we talked about, Dio died 201 days from Ozzy's birthday. Just like how from the day Ozzy was born to the day his wife was born was exactly 201 months later. But one of the considerations in the years of Black Sabbath was Robert Plant. And when they didn't use Robert Plant, instead they went with the Deep Purple frontman for that period of Black Sabbath. So I was like, in a way, Robert Plant kind of does have a connection to Black Sabbath. And remember earlier this year when you had that terrorist attack in Kashmir that started the war over there with India and Pakistan, it was all synced up with Robert Plant and Jimmy Page. Pretty big ritual on the world stage. Of course, they were in Zeppelin and had the hit song Kashmir. And for people who don't know how big Kashmir is to Zeppelin, they've said in their own words they wish that was the song they were remembered for rather than Stairway to Heaven. So might want to go back and take a second look at how that news out of Kashmir might line up with, say, a date like August 16th. Jerome Powell, Jesuit educated at Georgetown versus Donald Trump, Jesuit educated at Fordham. The ongoing feud, Trump's been threatening to fire Powell and have him removed from office since he says he misutilized funds with the $2.5 billion renovation project at the Federal Reserve. They print the money. Why not? But yeah, just these two Jesuits and Trump saying lower interest rates and Powell saying we got to keep them where they are. The inflation will get even more out of control. As far as I'm concerned, the whole economy's fake and everything going on is just to make everything so that you'll own nothing and be happy by 2030. And it's also politically driven. Again, when Trump went along with the Cooties 19 scam and printed all the money, that causes inflation right there. I called it out before we got a single stimulus check. I said, just wait until everything's way more expensive. I explained it all that day. I said, you'll be regretting this $1,000 you got when next thing you know, it's $1,000 just to fill up your grocery cart. But, and here we are. But anyway, called that all out before a single stimulus check came. Anyway, notice Powell does this with interest rates and says we're keeping them high on the 177th day of his age. Just like the Jesuit orders 177, just like New World Order. And, the day that Hogan died at 71, the thing that was going on with Trump is that was the day that he was meeting with Powell at the Federal Reserve. And Federal Reserve is also 71. He was examining the renovation project that day. Of course, Hulk Hogan spoke for Trump at the GOP convention last year in Milwaukee. But Federal Reserve is 71. And again, it's kind of interesting it's 82 because then he's doing this the day of the Ozzy funeral. But off the top, I not exactly sure where Ozzy would, Wizard of Oz, Man Behind the Curtain. I'll have to think more about that angle. But yeah, again, the day that Hogan died at 71, Trump was with Powell that day. And that is something to think about. Remember, Hogan's death had a lot to do with 177. He died on the 177th day of the Year of the Snake, and he was known for the 24-inch pythons, dead on the 24th. He was part of the New World Order in wrestling. So I'm seeing this today, and I'm going, Let me see something real quick. Jerome Powell, or hold on. Hulk Hogan, date of birth, August 11th. Let me see something. Their birthdays are 188 days apart. That's the US dollar bill denominations when added together. The 1 plus the 2 plus the 5 plus the 10 plus the 20 plus the 50 plus the 100. All right. But yeah, just, the Jesuit feud between Trump and Powell and interest rates and, you know, defying Trump's demands today on the 177th day of his own age, keeping the rates right where they are. Kamala came out today and said she's going to keep out of the race for California governor. She does this 461 days before the election for governor. That's the 89th prime. Of course, Harris equals 89 like Newsom. You might remember when the wrestler Kamala, she goes by Kamala, he goes by Kamala, or he did. Both spelled the same way. His actual birth or his actual surname was also Harris. But I just want to remind you how he died 2 days before Kamala was named the VP nominee, and there was a lot more to it as well. She became the 49th vice president, Kamala Harris and James Harris, which is the wrestler's actual name, both 49. But he died on 8/9, and he died 73 days after his birthday. And Harris equals 73 forwards. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, 89. He also died exactly 42 weeks after Kamala's birthday, when Kamala equals 42 and eventually should get 42% of the Electoral College vote. And we saw what they just did the other day with Trump 42 days after his birthday, saying that Kamala wrongfully paid for the celebrities behind her, including Beyonce and Oprah and possibly Al Sharpton. That had to be 42 days after Trump's birthday. Again, the puppet show by the numbers. Also buzzing out of the New York shooting, the one that went up to the 33rd floor. Blackstone executive, she was the CEO of Blackstone's real estate division. Reportedly, she was killed, and she's a Yale grad, and she's dead at 43. And how many times have we talked about Yale and 43? Again, George H.W. Bush, the 43rd vice president, Yale Skull and Bones member. George W. Bush, the 43rd president, Yale Skull and Bones member, elected in Florida, which equals 43, while his brother was the 43rd governor of Florida. And saying elected in Florida is true because it was called for Gore, and then because things changed in Florida, and then the Supreme Court stopped the recount. Yeah, Florida, where again, Jeb Bush was the 43rd governor. Don't forget, right after that was 9/11, the Patriot Act, and then the Patriots, and then eventually Tom Brady goes down to Florida at age 43 and wins the Super Bowl at age 43, but right before he wins it, there were mysterious killings in the Goatville neighborhood next to Yale, where Yale students were killed, and Brady completed the goat ritual. And then the guy with Channel 43 on Sirius XM, which has the song 4321, where he concludes it, "I'm the greatest of all time." I'm talking about LL Cool J. His guest artist on that song, DMX, ends up like a vegetable on 4-3 right after Brady wins it. And LL Cool J has Channel 43. The date was April 3rd, 21, like the song's 4321. Again, I showed that music video the other day and how Cannabis is in that, and he's wearing a jersey that looks like either it's a Tampa Bay Bucks or a Kansas City Chiefs jersey, and he's wearing number 31. Song came out almost 30 years before that Super Bowl. Brady wins it with 31 points. Couldn't have scripted it any better. And don't forget, with regards to this killing being targeted by somebody who was mad at the NFL, this is the story. I should say supposed killing, allegedly. Again, Walter Camp, Yale Skull and Bones member, credited with American football, the father of American football. Don't forget, football equals 43, like Florida, like Yale. But yeah, it says tragedy struck in Midtown Manhattan on Monday when a gunman entered 345, like we're counting, Park Avenue. 4 people, always 4, isn't it? 4, again and again, 4. The number that's associated with the death from the Far East. Japanese and Mandarin Chinese. 4 represents death. 4 people were killed, and one of them was Wesley LePatner, one of the highest ranking women at Blackstone. Yeah. Eric Trump today did an interview with the BBC and said that there could be a family dynasty in the White House. I mean, you think about, over in the UK where they still have royalty. Almost all the US presidents related back to royalty. Get a load of this. From his January 6th birthday in George Orwell's 1984, from today to his BBC interviews, 205 days, like United Kingdom. Like I continue to say, we never got free. That's why we're speaking English over here. But, what a day to be talking about dynasty in the White House, family dynasty to the BBC. If you missed last night's stream on the earthquake, it went from an 8 to a 8.7 to a 8.8. I'm not going to review all of it, but just understand that a magnitude 8 quake has almost 16 times less energy than an 8.8. So think about how big of a miscalculation that would be. Imagine if we're doing a movie scene and you're saying, hit me, but don't hit me very hard. So I'm just supposed to tap you, right? Tap you. Okay, yeah, that's fine like that. That doesn't hurt at all, but it looks good for the scene. Now imagine I hit you 16 times harder. Are these things even comparable? No. One, you have a broken nose. The other, you don't even feel it. So again, this world of science that we have, it's really scientism, you guys. This is supposedly science here that's complete bullshit. And of course, like I've been showing all these years, USGS reports by the numbers. And again, it hung around at 8.7 for the longest time before then they gave it an additional point bump, which is actually a huge bump when you get to that high of a magnitude. It's a big difference between an 8.7 and an 8.8. But again, an 8.8 is nearly 16 times more energy released than an 8. I'll pay you $5 an hour. Hell no. I'll pay you Wait, that's not even right. I'll pay you $90 an hour. Most people take that. Oh yeah, absolutely. 90. That's 16 times more. I mean, I'm just making the point that times 16 is not comparable. Yeah. I could make more jokes about times 16, but I won't go there. Anyway, again, just 8.7 out of Russia. And then again, all this fear like the whole world was like on a tsunami watch and then nothing happens. It's just creating fear. And have you got, the other thing I was saying is like, where's the footage of the damage in Russia? If this is like, they're saying this is the 6th largest earthquake in the time of recorded history, there should be a lot of damage. Where's the damage at? This is how fake our world is right now. 8.7, and then, bumping it up to 8.8. Again, the epicenter's near 88ville, synced up with the guy who they keep syncing up earthquakes with. 88 days after The Rock's birthday. Mr. San Andreas. Yeah, there was more to this last night. You can check it out, but we had a great phone call, or was it a comment? It was either a phone call or a comment. Somebody said, look up Sammy Hagar's Crack in the World song from 1977. So I was reading the lyrics of this, and then I finally got to what they wanted to see. A song about an earthquake from 1977, and then it gets to this point late in the song. What's crazy, you guys, listen to the song. Actually, I gotta, this is not my kind of song. I did realize, though, that the riff for the song kind of rips off the music from Pink Floyd's Animals. Pink Floyd does it a lot better, but if you've heard Pink Floyd's Animals and you listen to the song, you'll be like, oh yeah, he did rip it off. What's crazy, though, the one reason to listen to it is look at what the timestamp is in the song when he says 2025. Here, this is exactly what you're going to find out. The Great Tribulation, 225. It's 2 minutes and 25 seconds in the song when he says 2025. And we've been talking about this for a while, this 225, 2025 thing, for a number of reasons. One was with what happened with George Floyd, but then the two was with the movie that Amazon put out right after George Floyd about a lockdown and race riots breaking out in 2025, where a talking point in the movie becomes the Great Tribulation. And of course, in the Great Tribulation, there's earthquakes. So I was like, It's kind of amazing the way that they can put music together like that and make sure that it's executed just perfectly. That 2025 is said right at 225 into the song. But yeah, check it out with your own ears. I listened this morning and I look for things like that. I said, look at that, 2025 right at 225. Uh, Now about this song being in 77, I covered this last night in the stream, but I want to bring it up again. The first major earthquake that did do a lot of damage and God knows how many people died was the 7-7 in Myanmar this year that happened at the 770th minute of the day, exactly 77 days after the anniversary of Myanmar gaining its independence from the UK. Same UK that had the 7-7 attacks. But yeah, I'm looking at that, being aware of the Sammy Hagar song, and I'm saying, the first really major, significant, deadly earthquake of the year. And keep in mind that was on the 87th day of the year as well, since Russia's next with the 8.7 for the majority of the night, because it was after 20 minutes. For 20 minutes, it was at 8. 20 minutes later, it was at 8.7. For several hours, it was 8.7. And then about the time I made the video, which was 3 or 4 hours later, they bumped it up to 8.8. So, yeah. And about Alligator Alcatraz, I did something real briefly on this, but I just looked at it a little bit more. And here's a couple more things I noticed about it. We talked about how it equals 177 and 69, like the Jesuit order. It's located at the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport, which equals 201. I mean, are you kidding me? How these numbers just continue to come together all the time? The Jesuit order, 177, 69, and 201. And they had to put the thing on the 25th parallel, right, for Trump. A lot of 25s with Trump. Remember, Trump equals 25 like felon. First U.S. felon president in 2025. And that's all part of the theater, too. But it's all part of the divisiveness. And essentially, that's what politics is. Just nonstop ritual to divide people, make them take sides, make them hate their fellow man while they fall in line behind whichever corrupt authority they see as the lesser of two evils. Rather than going, wait a minute, we're all collectively getting lied to here, getting manipulated, getting used and abused, getting led into another war. It's just... It's something else. By the way, it's also on the 80th meridian. And remember, Mega is the highest degree of the Church of Satan. Satan's 80, like Baphomet's 80, symbol for the Church of Satan. And yeah. I think those were the main things I had for today. There wasn't a whole lot else going on. And like I said, I got to run a few errands because I got to be ready for the live stream tonight, which will begin at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Again, I'll be on with the Occult Rejects. And they have a particular member. Their panel always shifts and varies. They are starting later than they normally do because I told them that their normal start time wasn't going to work out with me and the new family schedule, but I could start at 7 p.m. They're mostly East Coast people, so it's a little bit late for them. But yeah, they have a panelist who I'm hoping will be on. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, again, shout out to Vidal Carmenita for going through the Eddington film. Again, he's going through the original script, and it's amazing how many things are in the script that are like literally word for word from my book, from the things I talked about, that ended up not making the movie. Seems like there's about 10 things in there, and they kept a couple in the movie. A couple's enough to see, but would have been something else if it was all in there. And again, you gotta wonder why they cut some of those things. I think it's because you lay out too many artifacts, and then people watching this movie might start to go look into things and be like, wait a minute. So, shoot, are we still streaming? I hope we're still streaming. My internet, I think, has been a little bit bogged down today. I did see that Rambo went on there last Wednesday, and I thought that was funny because they asked me to go on last week, and I told them I couldn't do last week. I almost think they got Rambo to plug the spot they initially asked me for. Um, but yeah, Rambo's new sidekick is such a horrible pair to mine, and he's another one of these guys that shouts out all the shit decoders and never mentions my name, which I just find to be pathetic. It's like, look at these people just biting me word for word and giving credit to the other wannabes. Um, and yeah, Rambo still does do good work, and Rambo still does have a good mind. He might have the characteristics of a woman, as he showed when he had his fallout with me. And for all you guys who are mad at me about it, again, you might be women yourself, because he totally handled himself like a woman. It wasn't anything that I did. But yeah, this new guy that he runs with is cringy. So. All right, you guys, I will leave it there for now, and I'll see you tonight for everybody who comes back for the interview. Till next time, True Seeker.